Here's a little project I've been working on, just got finished. This is our mailbox house that was pretty much original to the development in the 1970s, and it's falling apart. So I spent some time in Fusion 360. Here's the design, pretty much the way the design looks. We have this simple layout. I wanted to keep the two posts pretty much the way I had them before. So you can see we have two posts. We have a platform for the mailboxes and then posts coming up from the side. And that's pretty much where we ended up. And I was hoping to use the original posts here. That didn't actually end up panning out, but that's okay. So there's the platform that the mailboxes sit on. And then some vertical 4x4s to hold the roof up and a little trim around the outside. So, and a pretty traditional 45-degree roof at the end, maybe with some nice detail. This is all kind of based upon what other mailboxes covers looked like elsewhere in the neighborhood. And then some nice big mailboxes that go up on this. So that's the design. Get started, start building the base. And I'm not going to go through the details here, simply because, you know, watching me cut a lot of wood is pretty boring. So this is getting started. And here we have the first take of the base. So we have the mailbox platform, the trim underneath, and then the two uprights up above. Here are the uprights with a what looks like a ridge beam in between. It's pretty much what I'd call it, I guess. And I'm putting on the first rafters at the end. So one rafter at one end, one rafter at another end. This is pretty much a test fit. And it's a test fit to see if the height of the posts is good. So brought out one of the mailboxes and we put it on there and kind of decided that these posts were a little longer than they needed to be. So what we'll see when we cut the next cut, we'll see that the posts are quite a bit shorter. And this is finally taking the shorter posts and getting the upper part, the whole trim part and the rafter part up and in the right position. So you can see it's kind of loose and kind of ungainly, but it ended up working actually pretty well. And those will be attached both into the posts and into the posts at the bottom and into the rafters. And here we have putting on some trim. So there's a nice little 3/4 inch trim. And that's just, I bought the trim. It's 1x2, cut it very nicely, put it on, and then just used a finish nailer to attach it. And that went on very nicely, and then I realized something. And it's demonstrated pretty easily here. We're putting siding at the ends here to kind of match what the other mailbox houses do. And if you look kind of in the middle there, you'll notice right where I'm pointing, the siding is too far out. And the basic problem here is that it's 1x2 trim. And 1x2 trim just isn't deep enough. What we really need is 2x2 trim. And that'll be deep enough that it will overhang the siding the whole way. So tear off the 1x2 trim and put on the 2x2 trim. And now we can take these pieces of siding. This is some old siding I had left over from a window I put in our house. So I figured it's, you know, nice 70s siding matches the house. And now you can see that once I get these in here, that we have a nice overhang line. So everything looks really nice here. Now with the 2x2. And at this point, I think we're pretty much done with the basic structure. So it's time to cut some plywood. And I'm not going to show you much plywood cutting. I just want to show you one little technique that I use when cutting plywood that's a little useful. And it has to do with that clamp that I just set down. And one of the problems when you're cutting plywood is, okay, check underneath. Cutting plywood is you get to the far side and there's nothing supporting the plywood where you started cutting. And it just falls off. And that can be kind of, well, I guess anything from dangerous to annoying. But what you can do is you can take this clamp and just clamp the two pieces together. Works a little better if you have a clamp that's a little bigger than that. This is my really small jawed one, and I should have used one like the one I have in the foreground. But you'll notice then we finish the cut, and what happens to the back end? Well, the answer is like nothing. It's clamped together, and you actually have to unclamp it. So that means that you can finish the cut and have it look really nice. So here's a quick little tour of the structure, kind of as it's finished. And that's basically what it's going to look like. Well, what the framework's going to look like. So now it's all kind of in the best state. What do we have next? Well, we have primer and paint. And this is after the first coat of primer. You notice my upside down structure there. That's because the part I really care about is the bottom part. The upper part will be covered with roof. So I'd hoped to use the original posts, but guess what? Now we had to spend a lot of time digging out the old cement or the old concrete, which is pretty deep. And then here's the bracing structure that I ended up using to keep those two uprights exactly where I wanted them and perfectly in line with each other and pretty close to perfectly vertical. And you notice I braced off the temporary mailbox structure. So we did that, brought out the structure, set it on top. Here it is with the siding on the end and the first part of the roof panels on. And then finally, here we are with the finished, the whole finished mailbox. And I think it's a little improvement over the old one. And I'm pretty sure it's going to last, well, probably last the 40 years that the first one did.